And we welcome in our Jason Jones of The Athletic as the position was announced today, and it is official. Jason, congrats on the expanded duties over there at The Athletic.
Air horns.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't realize so many people were going to tell me we're glad you got off, you escaped the Kings. I was like, wow. I mean, I might have told the story. I think a former King told me I was the last one left. So he's like, we got to get you. He said, "Cuz we got to get you out of there, man. You the last one left."
I can actually decode what that means. I see. I see.
Yeah. All my folks is gone. Pete Young is gone. Everybody. I mean, like I got 3 or 4 folks. Sean Cunningham and the Cruz, and I'll still be around. It's just I was surprised. Some of the tweets had me cracking up.
Yeah. Well, look.
We're going to still ask you a bunch of Kings questions.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you still. Especially.
Every time I pull away, something happens. I'm gonna pull away. Marvin's agent's going to tweet something. They're always going to try to pull me back in.
Always.
I'm never really going to be gone. I'll still be around.
Yeah. And I was texting Jason on Friday night during that Kings game, and he didn't start the fire, but he got the beginning of the fire that was on Friday. I was hot as fish grease watching that game and texting with Jason on Friday. I was hot.
I mean, that was Kings. That was classic Kings basketball right there. Something I've seen a whole lot of. So, I mean, it's like whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
What do you take? Let's just start here. What do you take from the reports this morning about Luke Walton's job security or lack thereof? If they don't win or anything like, is this a threat, or do they're already ready to make this move?
I mean, this is just typical now. I mean, for God's sake, they lost 9 games in a row twice and 9 out of 11. And last year, and it was like, it's okay. Okay, you lose 4 in a row early. Oh, now we're serious. It's like, okay. I mean, yeah, like I said, to me, their team is going to be in that 10 range, trying to push into it. And if you're going to panic now, why then you panic? I'm a big believer in this. If you're going to fire someone, say a coach before Christmas, you should have fired him in the offseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you're going to, I'm like, if what did you learn put it this way, what have we learned about the Kings in this first 12, 13 games that we did that's new?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, you might. I don't get the whole idea of all of a sudden now it's serious. It's like if you're going to freak out after 12, 13 games, you shouldn't have brought Luke back. Right. I mean, that's just plain and simple. You can't. It's when you have a franchise that's going to run the way the Kings have been running for the last 15 years. These are the kind of things that happen. That's how you get 3 coaches in one season. It's almost like this knee-jerk thing. It's like, if you have a plan, could you at least stick with whatever plan you have? And the question really becomes, well, what is the plan? You say we want to make the playoffs, but, did you really do enough to get into the playoffs, or did you do enough to get into the play-in? I mean, there's levels to it. And I was thinking about this earlier. We talked about, is this core good enough to get into the playoffs? And I watched, Minnesota over the last few games, whatever, the Golden State, Clippers, and Lakers. Do the Kings have a player better than Anthony Edwards right now?
No.
I mean, do they have a player better than Karl Anthony Towns right now? No. I mean, D'Angelo Russell's their number 3 guy. Who's the Kings' number 3 guy? I mean, you're talking about young cores. I mean, I take Minnesota. And they're not a good team right now. So, I mean, to me, there's part of there has to be some reality check about what you've got. And like I said, I'm watching Anthony Edwards. I see superstar potential. I don't see a superstar on the Kings. They just don't.
Jason, what's the motivation when reports like this come out? Like what are organizations or people like what do people hope to accomplish by this getting out there? Because now I feel like you have a fan base that was already anxious because the team has lost 4 straight. They were really anxious because the superstar you just alluded to, they thought was DeAaron Fox, and 13 games into the season, it doesn't look to be. And now you've got an on-edge fan base, even more on edge, thinking another coaching change could be happening as soon as tonight.
A lot of times, always to people, when something gets leaked, you got to ask why. And like you said, part of it is you're trying to clearly put pressure on staff and Luke, like you better win or else. And I'm like, if you're gonna decide Luke Walton's fate over whether or not a team that's maybe the 10th or 11th best team in the West can beat Detroit tonight, just go ahead and fire him now. I mean, you can't have a staff going game to game, but that's okay. If we lose this one now, it's over. But then again, people in that building will tell you that's how it is there all the time. If Vivek changes his mind, it's over. I mean, this is the same team that gave Lade an extension in April of 2019 and fired him in August of 2020. So, you're trying to, put some pressure, and to me, you're trying to let the fan base know you're serious about this, but the fans might counter, if he were serious, why is he back?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, like I said, it makes no sense. It's crazy because just a year ago, they were letting anyone who they could know, hey, we didn't do anything to help this guy. And now because you got Davion Mitchell and Alex Len, you've now done so much to help. It's just been the constant weird mixed signals they send. And it's not, it's a reason why a lot of coaches wouldn't touch the Kings job. It's because, there's a lot, it's kind of exposing a lot of what's wrong with Sacramento.
Well, that's tough. I mean, and that's a tough way to run an organization. But at the same time, Jason, we are talking about being 9th or 10th. And I know that's not the ultimate goal, but where they're at right now, in my opinion, everything you're saying is right. In my opinion, it has nothing to do with not staying in front of your man on the defensive end. There's a level of personal pride that I see from these guys on the court that I expect more out of. Like, I expect them to perform at a higher rate than they have because I think highly of them. I think they have a good enough roster to play better than what they have been playing. One guy I'll talk about in particular is DeAaron Fox. And I want to ask you that same question. Were the expectations too high from the fan base, from guys like myself in the media, for who DeAaron Fox could be?
I think to a degree, yeah. People kept talking all-star, and I kept saying even last year, he's not close to being an all-star yet. And everyone thought I was hating. I'm like, I'm not hating. He's not an all-star yet. And I think even for this season, I don't think it's unfair because even though he's playing below expectations, he's way below expectations. And I think it's probably more problematic to the fans. And then when you hear some of his post-game comments now, it's kind of like, I don't owe anybody an explanation. I know I'm playing bad. This fan base doesn't want to hear that. And we know what's about this fan base. If they turn on you, it won't be pretty. And I think, kind of DeAaron's natural kind of nonchalant way is rubbing people the wrong way. Now it's like you're playing bad and your attitude is, I don't owe you an explanation. I know I'm playing bad. And your best game came in a game you got mopped by San Antonio. So it's like you put up an empty 37 in people's eyes. And yeah, it's and sometimes I always talk about when you talk about a max player, there's guys who are max players because they're truly stars, and there's guys who are max players because they're the best player on a bad team. The second category, a guy like Andrew Wiggins who got a max deal, after his rookie deal. Was he a superstar? No, but he was their best player. And right now, DeAaron's looking more like I'm a max guy because I'm the best player on this team. Because of all the guys who got a max deal from his rookie class, he's the only one who's never been to the playoffs or been an all-star. And the organization's going to look really silly if I was talking to someone about this with the whole Ben Simmons chatter. They said you've drafted 2 point guards after him, and now you won't trade him. because it's just like I said, it makes no sense when you're saying we drafted a rookie to light a fire under our max player.
Wow.
It's like, what do you my thing would be, if you need Davion Mitchell and Tyrese to push him, maybe he shouldn't be your best player.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of wild that you're seeing some of the comments that people are just kind of like they're just. I think DeAaron's attitude to them is just it's a turnoff. You're struggling. People have these high expectations, and they're like, he can be an all-star. You know what? And then it's like, even guys like y'all like, don't slander DeAaron or talk about John Morant. John Morant came out this year like a beast.
That's facts.
You see him.
Dude.
He and even from his rookie year, he was a leader. You saw him, impose his leadership on that team. I think the team is struggling, rightfully so. People are looking at Luke, and I think also rightfully so. They're looking at DeAaron. Like, what are you going to do? The beautiful thing about basketball is that when you're on the court, you've got control, and people are saying, "Hey, DeAaron, what are you going to do?" This team is not going to be good if their three best players are Harrison Barnes, Rashawn Holmes, and Buddy Hield. I mean, and a lot of this season, DeAaron's been their fourth or fifth best guy. That's not good enough. And people are angry with him about it, and they should be. And like I said, when you hear comments like, I don't have to explain myself, I know I'm playing bad, people are not going to take that the right kindly. They're not going to like that, and I don't blame them. I mean, it's like, okay, so people will say, well, don't say he got the money. I'm not going to say he got the money, he doesn't care. I don't believe that. But and this is a very sensitive fan base in the sense that, I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that when you watch this much losing, you can see the signs coming again. And when you hear him saying things like that and then underperforming, and you see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just going at him in the fourth quarter, and Buddy Hield giving a better defensive effort on Shea than DeAaron. When you see that, that's going to make people angry. And I can't be mad at him for being mad about that. I mean, I would be mad too if I'm sitting there watching the guy that I heard was so terrible at the city. Buddy's trying, and then you watching Shea blow by DeAaron.
Yeah.
People don't want to see that anymore. You get that he's a young guy. This is his fifth year. By now, either you're the star or you're not, generally. And right now, he's going the other direction. And I tried to say, give him some time, but I want to see some urgency at this point. Like, tonight, go out there and get a 40-piece.
I feel like he's really regressed defensively. I know our focus is the offensive end, free throws, three-point shooting, and all that. And I know he was never a great defender. But he's like a bad defender now. Like a straight-up bad. Not like, oh, you can see it. No, he's doing some things well. I feel like he's completely regressed on the defensive side of the ball.
And probably one of the bigger indictments in that regard is you look at the last couple of years, when have the Kings played their best defense, and he's been hurt.
Yeah.
When he got hurt a couple of years ago, they played their best defense when Corey Joseph was starting. Last season, they played their best defense when Delon Wright and Tyrese were starting.
That's real talk.
That's a direct indictment on him. And what frustrates the Kings so much about that is that when you watch him at Kentucky, you read all the reports and the scouting reports, everyone said he has the potential and the ability to be an all-league defender. Not that he can't do it. We've seen him do it at times. But it's kind of like I got to pick my spots type thing. It's like they can't afford to have him pick his spots. And, one of the reasons why Vlade went out and signed Corey Joseph was the idea that, hey, DeAaron, if you get all your effort that you have on defense, we'll rest you when you need rest. We got somebody behind you. And we even got a guy, who can defend for you, Same with Davion. They keep trying to bring guys in to help with that. The fact is that if you're getting killed by opposing point guards, who's your starting point guard? And like I said, they played the Warriors the first time. If I'm DeAaron, I'm offended with everyone saying, how's Davion going to do against Steph? Like, I'm starting.
Right.
And you guys don't want to see the rookie go against him. It's like people are conceding that he's going to get cooked. Let's get Davion out there and see what he's going to do. So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on DeAaron, a lot of attention, a lot of negative attention right now, and he's earning it. I can't come up with a way. And I was saying for the last 3 weeks, give it some time. But watching that OKC game, I was like, this is just bad. Then that last turnover, just like you get careless at the wrong time. I mean, it's hard to defend him right now.
No. I asked James Ham this, and I'll ask you as well. Do you think he's feeling the pressure of the contract, of the fan base? And what I mean by that is, like you said, we're tired. There's no more patience here as Kings fans. Like, it needs to change now. And he was looked at as the guy that would lead them to change. I'm going to remind you, Jason, when I say change, I ain't talking championship. I'm talking about getting into a play-in scenario. And he got the contract. There's a lot of pressure on him. Do you think he's feeling that pressure right now?
I don't think the way DeAaron's wired, he actually like feels pressure, like, oh no, it's all on me. He doesn't work that way. And that may be a problem. Maybe he should feel more like, maybe, I think even if it wasn't true, if he came out and said, man, I couldn't sleep last night after that game, people would at least feel like he cared more. And I just don't think people get that sense from him. And even going into last season, I've written about it. People talked about the concern with him with the intangibles. Would he be the last guy in the gym in the first? Because I know early in his career, the joke was that he must take a shower pill because he would be out of there so quick. So there's always been that concern of that, your best player has to be that grinder, that hard worker, so the other guys see it. Wow. So they say he's made progress in that, but I just don't know if that, if you're looking for that maniacal leader type, maybe that's just not him. I think people are looking, like I said, everyone looks at the whole John Morant thing and all that. He's another young guard. He's just, I just think guys like that some guys just aren't wired that way. And, some people have said for a while that maybe DeAaron's best is a number 2, but in this situation, they need him to be 25 a night. These 14 points, 5 or 6 games aren't going to cut it. That's going to get Luke fired. That's going to get him, that's going to get this team broken up, which may be a good thing, get the team broken up because, like I said, for all the talk of this young core, I can point to 2 or 3 other young cores where I go, they got something there. I don't know what you got right now with Sacramento.
Jason,
you see the same record over and over again. Like, how many times do you keep bringing these guys back and seeing the same things and fire the coach? Is that going to make DeAaron run the ball, push the pace? You got Tyrese getting the ball in quickly and DeAaron walks it up.
Saw the same thing I saw. I talked about that earlier. Tyrese is like, give me the ball. He inbounds it and Fox walks it up.
Yeah, so at some point, like I said, you change coaches. Is that going to change? I don't know. But there's just things that that OKC game. I'm just going. Even the commentators are like, Tyrese is trying to push. DeAaron's walking, and it's like if you can't shoot, shouldn't you be trying to get up there quick and get something early?
Right.
It's just it's just basketball because we shouldn't be having this same discussion in year 5.
Right.
This should not be the same thing. If we're talking about Davion or even Tyrese, yeah, but this can't. DeAaron has to hold himself to a much higher standard.
Do you think Luke makes it through the season?
I don't know. Part of me says yes because of the money part. Part of it says no because if they continue to struggle, someone's going to get blamed for this.
Mm-hmm.
And in this business, players never get blamed. So, but I felt pretty good last year saying he was going to make it through the season, even when they were struggling. And even then, even now, I would still lean more toward he's going to still finish the year, just because even the story we had today was more like there won't be as long of there won't be as much leeway, and I do think they have enough to where I'm not going to say they should have won tonight. I've said for years, no Kings team is good enough to ever say they should win a game. So if they win tonight, you come back home, maybe you get a win here or there at some point. That kind of calms things down because That's one thing they've done over the last couple of years. Just when you always thought, oh, it's over, they'll come out there and do something and go, wow, okay, maybe they got something. So I think, let's see where they are at Christmas, because, things tend to get weird in Sacramento. Generally, it always got weird around December, from my experience. That was the Malone thing. That was a couple of DeMarcus's things with Paul Westphal. It was always around Christmas.
Kings fans just can't have a nice Christmas.
No. I was at a Christmas party when DeMarcus fired his agent, and I got a call. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I can't. No more eggnog. I don't drink eggnog. For me, I was on some Hennessy or something. Like, no more hen for me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on your show. I mean, no more Bel Air for me.
Yeah, there you go. That's my guy right there.
There was no Bel Air back then. But now I would be like, no more Bel Air for me. I got to go ahead and take care of the store. I don't know what it is. I think in general, a lot of us have weird stuff in the holidays. But the Kings in the holidays, it'd be like, are you kidding me? There's always a suspension or something. A coach is getting fired. A coach is unhappy. So, yeah, this is, there's a lot of just, tension, just in general going into a season like this. The coaching staff feels it. The players feel it. Man, there's just so many layers to this thing now. It's just going to be, I'll be really watching this game tonight and curious about how they go, see what happens. And we didn't even talk about Marvin yet, so.
No, we hadn't talked about. And the Marvin thing came out after we talked to Jason last week. It was like that right after we got off the show. We didn't even talk to him about Marvin.
And I still think the organization's not getting enough heat for how they've handled this.
How so? Explain that one. Explain that one.
When you on the record say you made an agreement with the player and the agent to let him go home and rehab, that's code for we're trying to get you out of here. We're going to trade you. You don't ever send a guy home if you're keeping him, and then you bring him back.
That's a fail.
Of course, there's going to be a problem.
Be a problem with who though? Be a problem with who though?
With Marvin, it's going to be a problem.
Why
I'm not
is
saying Marvin is
Marvin
right, because he doesn't want to be in Sacramento. And I'm not saying that Marvin is right in the sense of you refuse to go. I'm not saying that's right. What I'm saying is that there's blame on both sides. There's getting handled on both sides. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Marvin's right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that. I mean, because who knows? If he goes in, maybe the minutes Chimedi's getting, Marvin's getting. I don't know. But my point is just that this thing is another typical, like, you basically enabled his behavior when you let him go home and rehab.
Right.
You don't do that, and then you wonder why he's acting this way. You guys, and we've seen this with the Kings for years, enabling this weird behavior from its players. And then you wonder why things go the way they do, and that's why they say it starts at the top with the cultural thing.
Wow.
Until you start, you don't. How many other teams do you see sending a high lottery pick home to rehab?
Do you know whose call that was? Or who? I mean, I'm assuming, was it Monty McNair? You said that there was an agreement with the agent, and I know that's what was alluded to.
What Monty said on the record was that was an agreement between the team and the agent.
Yeah.
To let him go home.
Yeah.
So, and then the cool part about that is that rather than the organization saying something, you leave Luke out there to answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's just so many things that go around. Like I said, you can change the coach. You don't change stuff like that happening.
Yeah. So
I mean, this is so much. This is so much.
So to that particular point right now, and I'm not trying to equate the two, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, maybe it's all connected, right? Why is Marvin still here on this team? And I ain't even saying cut him. Send him away, send him home and work on the deal. If you can't find it, then he just gets a year off or whatever. But why is he still with this team right now, in your opinion?
I have no idea. I have no idea because, I know I believe Sean's report to be true, and I've heard Kyle say that it wasn't true. To me, that's insubordination. That's a suspension and a fine.
Mm-hmm.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
If of course, the whole if I was running a team, of course I'm not running a team unless I'm playing Madden or Live on my Xbox, but, you refuse to go into a game, that's insubordination. that's a fine. Maybe he was fined. The Kings have at times fined guys and didn't disclose it. Maybe it was a fine. I didn't look into it really, but I'm like, if he's not playing, you don't want to play him. What's the point? I personally, I would send him home and let him, and say, what, we can all kind of agree this is over. Let's, this is, there's no need to make you. I mean, at some point, it just got to be almost humiliating. You're the second overall pick in this draft 3 years ago, and you can't get off the bench behind a guy who they signed to a two-way a year ago. It's clear they don't want you. I mean, I can't even imagine what Marvin's mindset is, and then even the whole notion of, it's Luke's call not to play, and that's true. But we all know if the people upstairs were like, Marvin needs to play, Marvin would play. So that's why he played last year and Bagley didn't. So, I mean, it's almost like, do you really think we're supposed to buy all this stuff repeatedly? It's like, it just doesn't change. The faces change, the players change, the coaches change. It's the same kind of circle of what in the world are you guys doing now? And it just continues to happen. And I don't know how you fix that.
Jason Jones of The Athletic here on D-Lo and KC. And you said something earlier about there's a certain level of like tension that is always in those offices and in the locker room. I said there needs to be tension in there and there needs to be a sense of urgency or whatever. Are you kind of saying, and I don't want to speak for you can answer, but it's the wrong type of tension and the wrong type of eggshells that's going on in those offices in the locker room year in and year out?
Yeah, I don't mean, yeah. This team isn't good. They haven't been good for, I'm 40-some years old. Over a third of since I was in my 20s, this team hasn't been good.
Damn.
So there should be some tension. But what I'm talking about is it's that nervous tension of, we were told this was going to happen, but what if Vivek changes his mind? And every coach they've had has had that fear. I mean, we saw Dave Yeager, best prayers to him in his situation right now with cancer, but we saw Dave Yeager literally every day refuse to praise his players for fear that if I praise them too much, they'll think these players are better than they really are. And then the expectations rise. Wow. And then, so I mean, this stuff is, it's the wrong type of nervous tension. So it's like, hey, we think we're doing a good job. I mean, look what happened to Michael Malone. I mean, Ty Corbin thought he had a job for the whole year, and then they're talking to George Karl behind his back. I mean, there's just so many different things. I mean, look what happened to Vlade. You can say what you want about him as a GM. The man signed an extension and then had to worry about, what's going on with Joe Dumars. So there's always something. Yeah. And as long as the organization has that going on, this is what you're going to get. I don't care who you hire, who you draft. Eventually, unless you draft, like I said, LeBron, and he comes in and transforms your franchise, we're always going to be going back to this type of thing at some point, no matter who it is.
Yeah. Jason, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for jumping on and spending so much time with us.
No problem. Anytime, man. Like I said, I remember next time, I'm drinking Bel Air.
Yeah, we got to get you some. We keep saying we got to get Jason bottles, man. We got to get this man some bottles.
They got a Vallon, a nice little cognac. I think you'd like.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll be at the Philly game. So yeah, because me, I'm out there looking for fun stuff. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that we can bring it inside, but I mean,
I got a trunk. I got a trunk. I'm the dude who goes to the spot and make sure I take care of that in the parking lot before I go in. So I'm not paying $20 for a drink.
We got the bottles of the Philly game for you, big dog.
Yeah, and depending on how the season's going, I might need that before I walk.
We all do. We all do, fam.
All right,
appreciate you. That's Jason Jones of The Athletic.